is Bennet Tchaikovsky, and I got this great email from one of my current students who's part of IBC 30 to CPA to have this question. Is I'm transferring to UC Santa Barbara, my alma mater, right? I graduated there in 1991, not 1891, not Yellowstone, or one of the Yellowstone prequels. And I'm planning to take all the extra accounting courses for the CPA license there. Just taking 1A, 1B at IBC. My questions is after graduating, I don't see a clear timeline when it comes to taking the CPA exam. If by the time I graduate, I meet all the requirements, hopefully 120 semester units, that's under the new proposal, when would be the best time to do the exam? Okay, so first thing you really want to do is when you're transferring to a four-year university from a community college in California, you want to go to assist.org, right? So when I go to assist.org, hit the academic year. I'm transferring from Irvine Valley College. By the way, a couple of different things. I am a full-time accounting faculty member at Irvine Valley College. I've been doing this for, I think I'm going on year 12. I love what I do. But oftentimes this is going to be something when you hear something from me or from any other person, you always want to basically do your own research. So everything I'm kind of sharing with you right now is just my opinion, not the opinion of the South Orange County Community College District. I am not a counselor. All I'm doing is I'm sharing with you resources in terms of for you as a student going to UCSB. So you going over here and viewing the agreements. And where I'm going to go to here is that when I was at UCSB, the major was called business economics. Now, what they've changed it to is they've changed this to basically economics and accounting. And so the first thing that you want to kind of go through and look at over here is that there's obviously going to be the UC Santa Barbara general admission requirements. And there's also kind of a special thing that you need to do in terms of basically going over here. So admission selection criteria to be admitted into the pre-economics and accounting major. Transfer applicants must complete the following courses with a 2.75 better GPA with no individual grade lower than a C and additional general admission requirements. So this is really important. So you've got over here microeconomics, macroeconomics, calculus courses articulating with UCSBs, and then note, you could do it without doing financial accounting, but it's really not really, so you want to be kind of careful about it. Now, here's the interesting part is that when you are, this goes for UCLA, if you're going business economics at UCLA, you have to have a 3.5 GPA in Econ 11 and 41. That's something that you've got to be very careful about because remember, at the UCs, at Irvine Valley or at most other community colleges, you're going to get the grade that you earn. I don't have a dean or my chair, well, I'm my own chair, so I don't have like Two-Face Harvey Dent coming to me and saying, hey, Bennett, you need to, have a 2.3 curve. Rather, you're going to get the grade that you earn. So notice over here that students are initially to pre-economics and accounting, not directly into the major. Admission to the full major is contingent upon completion of Econ 1, 2, 3A, 3B, and 10A with a GPA of 285 or higher. Now, the one other thing I think as well is you got to take, I believe it was, if you did micro, macro, and then you did financial accounting, and then I think it was one other one, which was Econ 5, basically that you had to basically have a collective grade average of a 2.85. But again, you want to kind of go through and check that on your own. The one thing I will tell you is you can take, I believe, these classes at Irvine Valley. However, I'm going to warn you with Econ 10A, there's somebody I teach with at Irvine Valley, and he told me that Econ 10A was harder than intermediate accounting. And when I heard that, I was like, uh-oh, that means it's going to be pretty tough. So what I would kind of do is basically, oh, here you go. This is where it is. Econ 5 and Econ 10A must be taken at UCSB. So what that means is that you have to have a 2.85 GPA or higher. What does that mean? Well, a B minus is a 2.7. a B is a 3.0. So do the math, right? That's really where that's kind of coming from. So you can take Econ 1 at basically at Irvine Valley, basically you take Econ 1 or Econ 1H. Then you can take Econ 2 or Econ 2 honors. And then you can basically do Math 3A or Math 3A honors or Math 34, Math 11, which is a brief course in calculus. By the way, this is significantly at Irvine Valley. This is significantly easier than Math 3A. Math 3A, Math 3B, very challenging courses. And then obviously over here, you get the choice of either one of these two. And then you get over here, oh, my managerial financial accounting honors class has finally arrived. So coming over here, you can take Econ 1A honors, and this will basically satisfy Econ 3A, Econ 3B, which are basically the lower division financial accounting classes. Now, one of the things, the reason I'm mentioning this is that when it comes to accounting 1B, it is not required for you to go to UCSB. However, I would go through and take the class just because they do have an upper division accounting course that could basically essentially help you. Now, remember, when you go through and basically take Econ 10A or Econ 5, these are going to be extremely challenging courses, right? These, I believe, are quarter units. You're going to have to make sure you get the right help. I have spoken with the chair basically a few years back of the econ department at UCSB because I said, hey, all my students are taking Econ 10A and they're having problems. And she said, look, we're going to add in another class. I just want to share with you, you need to basically make sure that you're utilizing all of the transfer resources basically for this. So that's, and I'll put this link basically in the bottom of the video so you can kind of go through and check this out. So that's going to basically be the first part, right? So when you go to UCSB, by the way, to remember at UC Santa Barbara, there is a party every single night, right? You can go out and have a great time every single night. If you have a great time every single night, you may just never get beyond the pre-business or pre-economics and accounting. You may end up choosing sociology. I can tell you right now, there's going to be all sorts of different distractions and other things that go on at UC Santa Barbara. It is an amazing school, but just like any other kind of school you go to, you want to make sure that you go up to campus. You want to make sure it's the right place for you. Those are obviously things that, I can kind of say without hesitation. So now on the second part over here is that we're kind of talking about the new educational requirements to become a CPA, which is going to be a bachelor's degree or 120 semester units or 180 quarter units. That's really kind of, that's really neither here nor there, but it's like the thing I would kind of tell you though, is in terms of when you're looking at when is the best time to take the exam, the first thing I'm going to tell you is I'm actually not going to tell you about essentially about taking the CPA exam. The thing that you need to be doing first is basically getting a job. And I just want to kind of do something with you really quickly because this is being made as of June 2025. And I just want to kind of highlight over here for you kind of what I would call the recruiting cycle. And let's just kind of pretend for a moment that you are going to be starting this fall of 2025. So we'll say fall quarter 2025. This will basically be winter quarter 26, spring quarter 27, summer quarter, oh, sorry. Wow, I'm jumping ahead. Spring quarter 26, summer 26, fall quarter 2026, spring quarter 27, winter quarter, wow, 27, spring quarter 27. If you were to go to UC Santa Barbara, right now, if you're going to be starting in the fall quarter of 2025, traditionally, when you go into fall right over here, you would be interviewing for summer 2026 internships, right? So you come over here, you enter in fall for summer 2026 internships. There is a problem with that though, and it's on a couple of different phases. First off, as I mentioned in one of the earlier videos, summer 26 internships in Irvine are totally full. So unless you've been already recruiting or doing some other things, this is going to be very, very difficult to have happen. So what I'm going to recommend that you go through and do is that I would actually take basically an additional quarter. Now, I'm not trying to make your parents, basically pay more money, but the reality of it is, and me talk and having spoken with recruiters from big four firms as of right now, this one is totally full. They're interviewing for summer 27, right? This is happening for different accounting firms. They're interviewing in August 2025 for summer 2027 internships. I realize that I'm not answering your question directly over here, but the most important thing that you can be doing right now as someone who's about to transfer is to make sure you have like that job security, right? You have to be recruiting as early as possible. You've got to be ready to go the moment you get in there. And this is why I'm saying is like, well, you want to give yourself about 2 years and a quarter, right? The other thing too is remember this. If I was to say, come over here and say, if I'm going to graduate, I'm adamant about graduating in spring of 27. When you start at UCSB in the fall quarter, you're not even in the major yet, right? You're not an accounting major yet, right? And UC Santa Barbara, right? So when we look at the academic ranking of UCSB, essentially along 12, basically nationwide, it's 39, 12 among public universities in the nation, right? If I did UCLA academic ranking, UCLA right over here is basically, let's say, 15th overall, and I think it's number one, yeah, in the country, basically under US News and World Report, right? And again, the thing though about what's different about UCLA, there's a lot of recruiters who say, oh, you're going to UCLA, that's wonderful. You don't have to necessarily be a biz econ major to basically get a job in accounting, right? You could be something else, right? But what they are going to care about is that you've taken the requisite units to essentially get licensed as a CPA. But coming back over here, when you're at UCSB, if you were, say, starting in the fall quarter, you're not even in the major yet. So you would literally be going to interviews in the fall semester by the way, the recruiting events at UC Santa Barbara literally happen at the very beginning because this fall quarter is going to start towards the end of September, early October. So you have to be fully ready to go. Now, you could take the classes of Econ 5 and Econ 10A in summer school. That's very possible to do. But again, just have to kind of see the situation you're in. But when you do get to fall quarter, unless you're in the major and you're going around and interviewing, it's going to be kind of a tough sell, right? Because you're pre-biz econ. You're not, or pre-econ and accounting. You're not yet in the major, right? So coming over here, I'm going to just do a quick pause. So coming over here, I'm going to put this link below. This is a great page over here, like economics 10A retake exam information. Uh-oh, that means kind of like, yeah, here's another problem. Here's another thing you can kind of go through and do. So again, this is a huge barrier into getting into the major. I would really look at this, and I will include these links. You just need to be very, very, on top of it. So let's go ahead and take a look at the major requirement sheet. The reason why I love doing this is because when I was an undergraduate, like literally the course numbers are the same. So over here, essentially for economics and accounting, you've got to go through and take, and it's really over here, choose, kind of choose an 11 from the following. And this is where you get into, let's see here, yes, you have to take Econ 136 A, B, and C. Economics 137A. This class, I have heard from my former students that if they took 1B with me, that they would basically be in pretty good shape basically for this class, right? And even though you do not have to take accounting 1B to get into the UC Santa Barbara major, it may not necessarily be a bad thing to kind of go through and to do. So when you're going through and taking these classes, this is basically managerial accounting. This over here are intermediate accounting. These classes were extremely challenging when I was there, but apparently Econ 10A is harder. And then over here, accounting or Econ 138.2, I believe this is auditing. 138 A and B, I believe that this is individual and business or corporate taxation. Econ 139 is advanced accounting. So this is kind of where you're going to want to, I might take more than two. And again, and the reason why when you're choosing accounting classes, remember that when you're going through and preparing for the CPA exam, that you want to be going through and choosing courses that are going to help you prepare for the different parts of the exam. You don't want to go CPA brand new. You want to do CPA review. So just keep that in mind as you're going through and choosing these different courses, right? So this is basically, these are like the different parts right over here. And again, I think this is great information. And, again, the courses are going to be very challenging, but there you go. So you would want to sit down and kind of plan out. Remember, when you're taking Econ 136A, B, and C, you take 136A, take 136B, then you take 136C. Let's go ahead and take a look really quickly, though, at the one other thing I believe that UC Santa Barbara has is a review course. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. There's a special course over here, and I believe it's an accounting class. So you've got to take financial accounting, analysis, and planning, auditing. Let's see here, Kobe Harmon. That's who I took. Jen Hulme, she's very good. I'm coming over here to auditing. And then the one thing that I'm looking for, I can't find the droids I'm looking for. The one thing I've heard about at UC Santa Barbara is that they do have a class that I think functions as a CPA review type course. So, but if you don't do that, you're going to go through and do, take another course. So that hopefully provides you with a lot of background about UCSB. Now, let's go to what your original question is. So after graduating, I don't see a clear timeline when it comes to taking the CPA exam. Okay, so let's say that you were going to go through and graduate for all intents and purposes in the fall quarter of 2027, right? So say you're going to graduate here. Now, according to the California Board of Accountancy, you can apply to sit for the CPA exam as of right now, is if you're going to have your bachelor's degree within, I think it's within 6 months and 180 days, and you will have the 24 semester units of accounting, 24 semester units of business subjects completed, right? So if you have those two elements, they will allow you to sit for the exam. You're going to have your bachelor's, and then 24 accounting, 24 business. Now, again, this may change by the time you're kind of going through and doing this. So what I would tell you to do, and this has been, I passed the exam while I was in school. I was absolutely nuts. And if you go through the IVC 30 to CPA modules, you can read about my May 1991 CPA exam journey. What I would do is, if you do end up doing an internship here, if once you do an internship, the firm that's giving you the internship will more than likely give you an offer at the end of that internship, unless you really screw something up. So you'll get an internship offer. And then what you kind of want to go through and do is you want to say, okay, once you get that review course, hopefully by that time, Becker is going to be fixed, but you're going to get that CPA review course. And this is being made as of June 2025. So I'm hoping the best for Becker in the future. But in June 2025, right, so you're going to basically, if you're graduating in December 27, in say July 27 or 180 days before, you can apply to sit for the exam. So what you're going to do then is, starting in the fall quarter, you're basically going to be going through and starting to review to basically prepare for the CPA exam. I would definitely try to pass FAR while you're in school. The exam is easier to prepare for if you are going to school full time. Once you're out of school or once you start working, it's a lot more challenging to be focused. I can tell you, when I was at UCSB, my last quarter, I was taking 19 units. Everything was party, no party, pass, no pass. And I was still having to take a class over the summer. You just want to kind of go through and, in terms of figuring out stuff, again, my advice to you, or what I would kind of share with you is, you basically want to go through and just try to get the exam out of the way as quickly as possible. So if you are going to be doing a summer internship in 2027, you finish up your classes in fall of 27, this is probably going to be enough time for you to basically take at least one or two parts of the CPA exam. Remember, more than likely, if you're doing an internship in the summer of 2027, that more than likely means that they would basically have you start in October of 2028. Okay, so you would have more time to go through and prepare and take the exam. But again, it's all entirely up to you in terms of how you want to take it. But the thing I cannot emphasize enough to you is the current state of recruiting. And this, again, is as of June 2025. We are in an unprecedented time where a lot of the other job opportunities for other business majors, including like consulting or other types of sale, those jobs have really evaporated. Seemingly, I hope things get better, but right now there's a lot of people going into accounting. So what I'm really going to strongly advise you to do is to not look at it from the perspective of, okay, I need to basically get out in 2 years. Rather, you want to basically give yourself enough time to basically successfully recruit, and then hopefully say to the fall quarter of 27. Now, the other thing is, living up there, very, very expensive, right? Could you theoretically get a job in summer 2026? The answer is possibly, right? I know that right now there's no room at the end for summer of 26. So we're now looking to summer of 2027. And by the way, to me, this is crazy, because when I was at UCSB in January of 1990, I was interviewing for jobs in the summer of 1990. So it was a 6-month window. We're now out to 2 years. So in any event, I hope this answered your question. I go through these other parts because I think that this, if you just look at it like this, right, you don't want to look at it in terms of the CPA exam. You want to be looking at this question in terms of, one, I'm going to a school that I'm not at automatically in the major, right? I've got to take Econ 10A and Econ 5 and have a 2.85 GPA to get into the major, right? That's one part of this. The other part of this too is that I need to look at this in terms of getting a job. If I graduate from a university without a job, it is going to be extremely difficult to find employment once you graduate. It's possible, but it is extremely difficult, especially given the climate right now. And this is as of June 2025. So hopefully this was helpful. And I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video, and I will see you soon. Have a great day.